Let's start with Mafia 3. One of the first things you'll notice is how alive New Bordeaux feels. The game nails that late 60s vibe, and I'm talking about the music, the cars, the fashion, even the radio broadcast. It all feels authentic and pulls you right into that era. The city itself is beautifully crafted, with neighborhoods that feel distinct and packed with character. The gameplay is all about strategic takedowns, stealth, and taking control of the city piece by piece. Lincoln doesn't just kick down doors and take names. He's smart about his approach, and you get to choose how to tackle each mission. You can go in guns blazing, but sneaking around and taking out enemies quietly is just as satisfying. Plus, as you start to take control of different territories, you actually build your own little crime empire, assigning lieutenants and gaining perks that make Lincoln even more of a powerhouse. It's a cool twist that makes you feel like you're really shaping the criminal landscape of New Bordeaux. One thing I personally loved about Mafia 3 is how it tackles some serious themes. The game doesn't shy away from the realities of the time. There's racism, corruption, and all kinds of hard truths woven into the storyline. It makes Lincoln's journey feel so much more impactful. You're not just going on missions for the sake of gameplay. You're stepping into his shoes, experiencing the highs and lows, and feeling the weight of what he's fighting for. It gives the story a level of depth that you don't always see in open-world games. Next, we have Elden Ring. If you love a good challenge and want to lose yourself in a beautifully crafted world, this game is a must-play. The open-world design is just jaw-dropping. It's not your typical open world where you're just running from quest marker to quest marker. In Elden Ring, exploration feels so organic. You'll be wandering through this desolate field, and suddenly you'll stumble upon some hidden cave or a massive fortress in the distance, and you just have to go check it out. Every corner of the world feels alive with mystery, danger, and treasures waiting to be uncovered. The game doesn't hold your hand at all, which I love. There's no obvious path to follow. You just go wherever your curiosity takes you. It's refreshing to play a game where the world itself is the real draw, not just the quest or the story. You never know what you'll run into, and trust me, the surprises are both thrilling and terrifying. Combat, as you'd expect from a From Software game, is tough but fair. Every enemy can mess you up if you're not careful. But when you finally take down that huge boss after hours of struggling, the sense of accomplishment is so worth it. It's got that classic risk-reward system, where you're constantly weighing your decisions. Do you keep pushing forward with low health, risking all your runes, or do you play it safe and return to a site of grace? That tension makes every encounter feel meaningful. The bosses? Oh man, they're something else. Each one feels like a huge event. Some are these towering, monstrous creatures, while others are more human-sized, but just as deadly. Next we have Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. Right off the bat, you can tell that The Lost Legacy is something special. It has all the cinematic action we expect from Uncharted, but this time, it's not Nathan Drake who's running the show. Instead, we've got Chloe, who's smart, witty, and honestly, she brings her own unique charm to the game. One thing that makes The Lost Legacy really stand out is its pacing. It's a shorter game compared to other Uncharted titles, but I think that actually works in its favor. It doesn't overstay its welcome. Instead, it packs all the best parts of Uncharted, the thrill, the exploration, the witty dialogue, into a streamlined, punchy experience that just flows. Every chapter feels meaningful, and there's no filler. You're either uncovering secrets, taking in stunning views, or engaged in some seriously intense action sequences. The combat feels great, and The Lost Legacy knows how to ramp up the tension. You'll be sneaking through enemy camps, dodging explosions, and getting into some pretty epic shootouts. Chloe and Nadine each have their own combat styles, which makes for some fun team dynamics. Nadine's more of a punch first, ask questions later type, while Chloe is a bit more of a thinker. Seeing them work together, especially in tight situations, is super satisfying. You can tell that Naughty Dog put a lot of effort into building their relationship. It's not all friendship and warm fuzzies. These two come from different backgrounds, and they've got a history that's, well, complicated. Next we have Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. This game is an absolute treasure. It's got everything you'd want from a thrilling adventure game, puzzles to crack, action-packed sequences, and just the right amount of exploration to keep things exciting without ever feeling overwhelming. The gameplay strikes this awesome balance between action and problem-solving. The game knows how to keep you on your toes, with sequences that demand quick reflexes and sharp thinking. Whether it's timed challenges or encounters that require strategy, it's always engaging and never repetitive. The variety is really what keeps the game feeling fresh, all the way through. One of the best parts of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is how interactive it feels. The mechanics are intuitive, giving you just enough guidance without ever holding your hand. You're free to explore and experiment, and the game rewards curiosity. Trying out different approaches often leads to discovering something cool, whether it's a hidden detail or a unique way to tackle a challenge. Another big win is how the game handles pacing. It's got this fantastic rhythm, where moments of high-stakes action are perfectly balanced by quieter periods of exploration or problem-solving. It's not just a non-stop adrenaline rush. It gives you time to breathe and take in the experience. That flow makes the entire adventure feel dynamic and keeps you hooked from start to finish. So, if you're into games that mix action, puzzles, and exploration into one exciting package, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is absolutely worth checking out. Next we have Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered. This game is, in a word, awesome. I mean, we're talking about one of the most exhilarating open-world experiences out there. Right from the start, the game drops you into this beautifully crafted New York City. And let me just say, it's not just any New York. It's a New York packed with detail, life, and personality. You've got bustling streets, landmarks, and people actually going about their day. It's honestly such a joy just exploring, whether you're swinging past Central Park or chilling on the top of the Empire State Building. The world feels alive, and it makes being Spider-Man feel real. And that web-swinging mechanic, oh, it's a dream. There's this rhythm to it that you quickly get into, and before you know it, you're zipping through buildings, performing aerial tricks, and just feeling unstoppable. I've got to say, even if there were no missions and all you could do was swing around, it would still be a blast. It's that good. The movement is smooth, intuitive, and just fun. There's no other word for it. It makes you feel like a pro within minutes, yet it's so satisfying that you'll still be enjoying it hours later. And then there's the combat. It's a perfect blend of strategy, agility, and good old-fashioned brawling. You're not just swinging fists. You're flipping, dodging, using gadgets, and keeping an eye on the environment. The game lets you approach fights however you want. You can go in stealthy, plan out your attacks, or just jump in and start kicking. It's totally up to you, and with all the upgrades and skills, there's always a new trick to try out. Next we have Fallout 4. This game is all about exploring a massive, post-apocalyptic world filled with adventure, surprises, and the freedom to forge your own story. Right from the start, you're stepping into a world that feels alive. Well, as alive as a wasteland can be. You emerge into this beautifully ruined version of Boston, and there's this sense of mystery about what happened, who survived, and how you'll carve out your place in it. One of the best parts about Fallout 4 is just how much freedom you have. Want to be a hero, saving settlements and helping people out? Go for it. Prefer to be more of a lone wanderer, exploring every nook and cranny at your own pace? You can totally do that too. The game really lets you make those decisions and watch as the world reacts to you, which makes it feel super personal. And the combat? Super satisfying. You can target specific body parts on enemies, which gives battles a bit of a strategic twist. Whether you're up against raiders, mutated creatures, or robots, every fight keeps you on your toes. And the weapon variety is massive. You can go from a simple pipe pistol to a full-blown laser rifle. Whatever fits your style. Plus, there's so much to discover. Every abandoned shack, rusted-out car, and hidden bunker has a story, whether it's in the form of an old journal, a skeleton in an odd place, or a stash of supplies that makes you wonder who left it behind. Fallout 4 is full of these tiny details that make the world feel rich and layered, like you're uncovering secrets at every turn. Next we have Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. This game is like a massive playground of imagination. I'll start by saying that if you're a fan of eye-popping visuals, crazy weapons, and charming characters, this is a must-play. Right from the start, you're thrown into this super vibrant animated world. And when I say vibrant, I mean vibrant. The visuals here are insane. It's honestly like playing through a Pixar movie. The combat is chef's kiss. You have this insane arsenal of weapons, and each one is wilder than the last. I mean, only Ratchet and Clank could come up with weapons like a gun that turns enemies into plants. That's right, you can go full botanist on some evil aliens. There's this fun balance where you have to keep switching weapons, and because they're all so unique, combat never feels repetitive. Plus, upgrading them is addicting. You're always excited to see what ridiculous upgrade you'll unlock next. The game somehow keeps you on your toes, thinking, okay, what can I do next to make this even crazier? And let's talk rifts for a second, because they're just so clever. You've got these dimensional portals that let you zip around the battlefield or enter totally new areas in seconds. It's like a whole new way of moving and exploring, and it makes the game feel like nothing else out there. Plus, there's this thrill in zipping through dimensions without a single loading screen. It's a mechanic that's so fresh, it almost feels like you're playing an action movie, where every second keeps you glued to the screen. Rift Apart is perfect for players of all ages. Next we have Spec Ops: The Line. It's one of those games that messes with your expectations in the best way. I remember going into it thinking, oh, just another military shooter, right? At first glance, it looks like your standard third-person cover shooter. You're leading a squad, you've got your guns, sandstorms everywhere because it's set in Dubai, and it all seems pretty straightforward, but as you dig deeper, that's where things start to unravel. The story pulls you in directions you don't expect, and it really makes you question your choices, like seriously question them. What I loved about Spec Ops: The Line is how it uses the setting and the characters to play with your mind. You start feeling like the hero, but after certain missions you're like, wait, am I doing the right thing here? The game gets into some heavy stuff about the horrors of war and the consequences of your actions, which is something most shooters don't really touch on. It's more than just, go here, shoot this. There's a layer of guilt and responsibility that weighs on you by the end. Plus, the gameplay is solid. I mean, the shooting mechanics are great, the cover system works well, and the environmental destruction with the sandstorms is a cool twist. But really, the gameplay is just a vehicle for the narrative, and that's what elevates this game from being just another shooter to something special. You don't see a lot of games that really make you reflect on the violence in that way. Honestly, if you're into games that challenge you emotionally and mentally, while still delivering fun, engaging action, Spec Ops is a must-play. It's underrated in so many ways. People might pass it off because it looks like a typical shooter. Next we have The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. From the very beginning, you're dropped into this massive open world, and it's completely up to you what to do next. No hand-holding, no strict path, just pure, unfiltered exploration. One of the coolest things about Breath of the Wild is the sense of freedom. You see a mountain way off in the distance? You can climb it. You spot a random little forest on your way to a shrine? Go explore it. You might find a secret or even stumble on a side quest. And the game rewards you for being curious. Everywhere you go, there's something hidden, some surprise, some little detail that makes you feel like the developers thought of everything. And speaking of surprises, the physics and chemistry systems in this game are unreal. You can use the environment to solve puzzles in ways that feel totally unique to you. Like, if you're clever enough, you can create crazy solutions to puzzles that don't even feel right. But the game encourages that. You can even use metal weapons to attract lightning during storms or set grass on fire to create updrafts for your glider. It's like a sandbox that's just begging you to mess around and get creative. And let's not forget the combat. It's challenging, but in a really rewarding way. You don't just mindlessly hack and slash. You need to time your dodges, be aware of your surroundings, and think about your strategy. The weapon durability system is a hot topic, but honestly, it adds to that survival feel. You're encouraged to experiment with different weapons and tactics, which keeps things interesting. Next we have Monster Hunter Wilds. You know that feeling when you step outside on a crisp, fresh morning and think, today's going to be epic? That's what this game delivers. Every single time you load it up. So here's the thing about Wilds. It's not your typical hack and slash fest where you mindlessly take down monsters. Oh no, this is like survival camping meets adrenaline junkie. Imagine being dropped into these stunning, living ecosystems where every step feels like you're part of something bigger. You're not just hunting monsters. You're living in their world. And let me tell you, it's their world. You're just a heavily armed visitor. The first thing that really hit me was how alive everything feels. Like you're walking through this dense forest and you hear something rustling in the bushes. Your brain immediately goes into overdrive. Is it a tiny critter? A massive beast? Or worst of all, one of those sneaky predators that sees you before you see it? You're constantly scanning the environment, looking for tracks, droppings. Yes, droppings. This game makes you care about monster poop. Or broken trees that scream, something huge came through here. And then, when you do find your target, oh man, buckle up. The monsters in Wilds are not here to make you feel like a hero. They're big, terrifying, and absolutely majestic in how they move and fight. One moment, you're feeling all smug, thinking, I got this, and the next, you're rolling out of the way as a winged nightmare tries to turn you into a pancake.